What if I told you? The man who changed the world was rejected before he could even speak. A beautiful boy was born into the world, but not into a family. His parents were young, unmarried, and terrified. They felt they couldn't raise him, so they gave him away. Before he ever said his first word, life had already said no to him. That boy was Steve Jobs. Born on February 24th, 1955, in San Francisco, Steve's birth parents, Joanne and Abdul F., were students who weren't ready to be parents. They put him up for adoption, but the first couple who agreed to adopt him backed out. They wanted a girl, rejected again. Finally, a simple, warm couple, Paul and Clara Jobs, took him in. They promised him love, a home, and an education. Steve grew up curious, stubborn, always asking questions. School bored him, rules frustrated him, but machines, design, those made sense. He later enrolled at Reed College, then dropped out after one semester. Still, he kept attending classes he loved: calligraphy, design, philosophy, without grades, without purpose, just curiosity. He slept on friends' floors, collected Coke bottles for coins, and walked miles for a free meal at a Hare Krishna temple. His parents were in California, but Steve chose struggle over comfort, freedom over fear. In 1976, at 21, Steve and his friend Steve Wozniak created Apple in a small garage in Los Altos. Their first product, the Apple I, wasn't built for big scientists. It was built for ordinary people. Then came the Apple II, a national success that transformed Apple into a real company. But success created tension. Steve was brilliant but intense, hard to manage, hard to stop. In 1984, he launched the Macintosh, bold and beautiful. But behind the scenes, he clashed with Apple's CEO, John Sculley. Steve pushed for innovation. Sculley pushed for safety. When Steve tried to remove Sculley, the board stepped in. And at 30 years old, Steve Jobs was fired from the company he created. He later said, "It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it." But being fired didn't finish him. It rebirthed him. He built Next, a company whose software would later become the backbone of Apple's future. And he bought a tiny animation studio from George Lucas, Pixar. Under Steve, Pixar created Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Up, films that changed animation forever. In 1991, he married Laureen Powell, the love of his life. By the mid-90s, Apple was dying. Its ideas were fading. So in 1997, Apple bought Next, not just for technology, but to bring Steve Jobs back. This time he was wiser, sharper. He reinvented Apple with the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. He didn't just build products, he reshaped communication, culture, and the way humans interact with technology. But in 2003, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He tried alternative treatments, then surgery. He kept working, even as his body weakened. In 2005, he delivered his iconic Stanford speech, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." In 2011, after years of battling illness, Steve stepped down as CEO. Weeks later, on October 5th, 2011, he passed away at age 56. He had been adopted, rejected, fired, told he was dying, but he never stopped being curious, never stopped dreaming, never stopped building. Steve Jobs didn't just create technology, he created a legacy that lives in every pocket, every home, and every dreamer who dares to think differently. Steve Jobs, the man who changed the world, forever. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out our other videos for more stories like this.